The iPhone X has officially been released for a couple of days now, so since we've had a little bit more time to mess around with the phone, here are our top 10 tips and tricks that every iPhone X owner needs to know. Reachability is a great way to make the content in the upper corners of your display a bit easier to reach with one hand. Before, this was done by lightly double tapping the home button. Well, since the iPhone X no longer has a home button, you will need to achieve reachability in a different fashion. First, you will actually need to go into your settings menu, then accessibility, and finally scroll down until you see reachability and toggle it on. Once you have done this, you can now do a swipe down on the bottom portion of the screen to access reachability. Not only does it make it easier for you to reach apps or content higher up on the display, but you can also access your notification shade and control panel easily as well. In order to maximize the edge-to-edge display while watching videos, more specifically watching them inside of the YouTube app, you will need to use the pinch to zoom gesture, and your phone will now fill up the entire display. Of course, this is also accessible within the native TV app by either pressing on the dedicated icon or double tapping the phone's display. If you need to close a running application, you will need to simply swipe up from the bottom and then pause in the middle of the display to access your recent applications. In years past, swiping up on an application would generally close them out, but with the iPhone X, you first need to long press one of the open apps until a red minus symbol appears. You can now either press the red minus symbol or you can swipe the apps away to close them out. Our next tip has to do with Face ID and how to offer more flexibility in recognizing your face, although at the cost of some security. While most sunglasses don't block the infrared signals used for Face ID, some do, and in this example, Face ID does not recognize me with sunglasses on. But if I go into Settings, General, Accessibility, and then tap on Face ID and Attention, you will see a setting called Require Attention for Face ID. Now if you toggle this setting off and then retry Face ID, your iPhone should recognize your face with no problems. It'll also make it easier for Face ID to recognize you anytime you're not looking directly at your phone or looking at odd angles. Keep in mind, by disabling attention for Face ID, you do lose an additional level of security by the True Depth camera. To toggle your flashlight and camera on or off from the lock screen, simply 3D touch on each corresponding icon in the bottom left or bottom right corner. You can still access the camera by swiping from right to left on the lock screen, but the 3D touch of the icon seems to be a lot faster and more efficient. Our next tip is all about Emojis. To access Emojis, simply tap on the App Store icon in the Messages app, and then the Emoji icon. From here, you will have access to a few different emoji characters like the monkey, robot, dog, cat, etc. Once your face has been detected inside of the box, you will see the Emoji recreate your facial expressions. When you are ready to record a message, simply tap on the record button, and you'll have about 10 seconds to record a message. When you're all done, simply press send. Now this feature is only available for iPhone X users, but those who receive the message on any iPhone will see the Emoji with no problems. You can also send the Emojis to Android users as well, but it does show up as a video clip and it doesn't really look all that great. Keep in mind that Emojis are highly addicting, and the recent trend of Emoji karaoke will leave you spending countless hours lip-syncing to your favorite songs. Our next few tips and tricks might seem very easy or basic, but they're actually really important functions of the iPhone X that might have changed since previous generations. For example, in order to access Siri on the iPhone X, simply long press on the power button and Siri will be activated. In order to activate Apple Pay, simply double tap the power button. Even though this is the same concept as past iPhones, but with a different button, the entire process seems much easier on the iPhone X. To power down your iPhone X is also a bit different, since we've now learned that holding down the power button will activate Siri. So in order to power down your device, you will need to press the power button and volume up or down simultaneously, and hold this button for a few seconds until the power down menu appears. To take a screenshot, simply press the power and volume up buttons and a screenshot will happen instantaneously. From here, your screenshot will navigate itself to the bottom left corner, awaiting any edits you might want to make. Our final tip for your iPhone X is the ability to recreate the old home button. This feature isn't technically anything new, but if you go into your settings menu, general, and then accessibility, scroll down to assistive touch, and you will find a bunch of different settings that will essentially enable a digital button with custom settings tied to it. This feature was important for those previous iPhones with faulty home buttons. This would allow you to recreate the actions of your hardware home button all on screen. Since the iPhone X no longer has a physical home button, you can now add one yourself, and assign some basic functions like going home with a single tap, long pressing to access Control Center, or 3D touching for multitasking. While this sounds great, the button can be a bit obtrusive as it never really leaves the screen, but it can be really useful for those who just don't want to give up their precious home button. So that about wraps up our top 10 tips and tricks that every iPhone X user should know. If you think there's a tip or trick that we should know about, let us know in the comment section down below. This has been Dan with MacRumors. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.